My name is Daniel, and any lingering illusion I had about my place in my family disappeared the day I stumbled across the trust papers. It wasn't some heartfelt moment where my parents sat me down and broke the news gently. No, it came out the worst way, by accident and out of sheer blind curiosity. It happened several months ago, during one of my usual visits to their place in Cedar Grove, the house I had been helping to maintain and pay off for the better part of 6 years. The property taxes, groceries, plumbing issues, yard work. I was the one holding it all together while my younger sister Claire contributed absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I don't mean she just did less. I mean she did zero. No job, no obligations, no involvement. Just floating through life like the world owed her something. And my parents? They enabled every bit of it. That particular day, I was there to help Dad sort through some paperwork. Bills, legal documents, bank statements. Because, as usual, neither of them wanted to deal with it. He handed me a stack of folders and asked me to check for anything urgent. I was flipping through one after another without much thought until I saw a tabbed envelope marked Trust Agreement and Final Will, Private. Now, I'm not a snoop, but after everything I had done to keep that house afloat, I figured a peek wasn't completely unjustified. So I opened it, and what I found made my heart stop. Everything, the house, the retirement accounts, the investment portfolio, was going to Claire. Not a word about me, aside from one sterile sentence stating their love for both of their children equally. Equally, sure. So equal that they handed their entire legacy to someone who hadn't lifted a finger while I played handyman, financial planner, and errand boy. I felt like an idiot. Years of being the reliable one, the one they could always call on, and this was how they repaid me? Meanwhile, Claire reaped all the benefits without ever being held accountable for anything. She was the youngest, the fragile one, the one they always made excuses for. Maybe they pitied her, maybe she was just better at playing the victim. I don't know. But they had made their decision. I sat there, frozen, the will trembling slightly in my hands. How long had they planned this? Had they always viewed me as the dependable but replaceable one? The financial safety net they could tap until they no longer needed me? I didn't realize how long I'd been sitting there until Dad came back into the room. "Danny, what's taking so long?" he asked, completely oblivious. I didn't try to hide what I was holding. I just looked up at him and said, "So this is the plan? Everything goes to Claire?" His face lost color for a moment, but then he sighed. Not like he was guilty, but like he was annoyed. "It's not what you think." "Really?" I asked. "Because it looks pretty straightforward to me. I've been footing the bills, keeping the lights on in this house, and Claire gets everything?" He shifted uncomfortably, and all he could say was, "It's complicated." That was it. No apology, no attempt at a real explanation. Just 2 words that told me everything I needed to know. I didn't leave right away. I needed to hear it from both of them, so I called out for my mom. She came in, saw the folder, and immediately looked like a child caught sneaking candy. But instead of denying it, she walked right into the fire. "Daniel, sweetie, you're doing well for yourself. You don't need the inheritance. Claire, she's still figuring things out. We just wanted to make sure she'd be okay." That was the moment something inside me cracked. They weren't even ashamed of what they had done. In their minds, this all made perfect sense. They'd spent years making excuses for her, and now they were going to solidify those excuses in legal ink. I closed the folder, set it calmly on the table, and said, "Got it. Thanks for the clarity." Then I left. No fight, no drama. Just a slammed door behind me and the sound of the truth finally settling in. I didn't return to that house. Not after what I'd seen. I didn't call. I didn't text. I stopped answering emails. For the first time in over a decade, I let my parents figure things out on their own. If the leaky faucet in the kitchen kept dripping, not my problem. If they ran out of milk or needed help resetting the Wi-Fi, they could call someone else. If the tax bill came in the mail and they didn't know how to deal with it, well, maybe Claire could finally be of use. The silence lasted around 2 weeks. At first, I'm pretty sure they thought I was just sulking, that I'd cool off and come crawling back, like always. Maybe they thought I'd apologize. Maybe they thought I'd feel guilty. But I didn't. What I felt was peace. Until one afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Property taxes are due. That was it. No greeting. No how are you. No sorry for what you found. Just a straight-up reminder like I was some financial assistant. I stared at the screen, stunned. After everything, he thought this was the right way to reach out? I replied, "Ask Claire. It's her house." It took less than 5 minutes before Mom texted, "Daniel, please don't be like this. We need to talk." Oh, now they wanted to talk, now that the bills weren't being paid on time. I let an hour pass before responding. "There's nothing to talk about. You made your decision, now live with it." And just like that, silence. For the rest of the day, not a word. Then, that evening, Claire decided to throw in her 2 cents. "Why are you acting so dramatic? This isn't that deep. Just help them out, like you always do." I couldn't help but laugh. Not that deep? Was she serious? I wrote back, "Pretty sure you've got it covered now. You're the heir, after all." A pause. Then another message from her. "Oh my God, are you still mad about the will? Grow up, Dan. It's just money." Right. It's just money now that it's all going to her. Convenient how things suddenly don't matter when you're the one holding the prize. I answered, "Cool. Then you won't mind using some of that just money to pay the taxes." No reply. About an hour later, Mom was back. This time a full-on guilt trip. "We're your parents. Families support each other. We gave you everything growing up, and now you're just turning your back on us?" I took a deep breath, resisting the urge to throw my phone. Turning my back? I had been the one holding them up all these years. While Claire sat on the couch, I worked overtime. While she asked for help, I sent cash. I replied, "You made it clear I wasn't family when you excluded me. Let Claire take care of you." I imagined Mom gasping when she read that. She always had a flair for the dramatic. Minutes later, Dad sent another text. "We're not asking for much. Just help with the mortgage a little longer." Don't be selfish. Selfish. That word lit a fire in me. I had drained my savings for these people, skipped vacations, said no to things I wanted. And now I was selfish. I typed one word, "No," and turned off my phone. But it didn't end there. The next morning, I woke up to a payment request. Bank notification. I blinked in confusion. Mom had sent me a transfer request for $3,800. No message, no explanation, just a demand. I declined it without hesitation. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. "Mom." I let it ring. Then another message. "Daniel, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it?" I took my time, then wrote, "Because it's not my problem. Try Claire." That next morning, they showed up. I was halfway through a cup of coffee when the knock came. At first, I thought it might be the neighbor. Maybe a package got delivered to the wrong door again. But no. It was Mom. And Dad. Standing outside my apartment, looking exhausted and angry. I didn't open the door right away, just stared at them through the peephole. Dad had his arms crossed, jaw clenched. Mom looked like she'd been crying. Or maybe that was just her trying to look like she'd been crying. I opened the door, but only slightly. "Daniel," Mom breathed out like she hadn't seen me in years. "It's time we talked," Dad added. I didn't say anything, just stepped aside. They came in like they owned the place, like this was their home. Dad went straight for the armchair. Mom hovered near the kitchen counter, like she couldn't decide whether to sit or plead. "We're not here to fight," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "Then what are you here for?" "To fix this," Dad said, "before it goes too far." Too far. It had already gone too far. "You already made your decision," I told him. Dad sighed. We didn't think it would upset you this much. That's the problem, I snapped. You didn't think. Mom stepped forward. You're still our son. I laughed. Really? Because you had a funny way of showing it when you wrote me out of your will. Her face twisted. It's not what you think. Then explain it, I said, crossing my arms. Go ahead, enlighten me. She looked at Dad, then back at me. We thought it made sense. Claire, she's never had the kind of stability you've built. She's always struggled. And I haven't? I asked. You think it's been easy for me? You have a job, an apartment, a car, Dad said. Because I worked for it, I shot back, while you let her coast. She needed support. And I didn't? The room fell silent. Mom looked down. Dad shifted in his seat. I took a deep breath. You didn't even tell me, I said. I had to find the documents. You were just going to let me keep paying for everything while knowing I'd get nothing back. It's not about payback, Mom whispered. No, I said coldly. It's about betrayal. They didn't argue. Because they knew I was right. Dad stood up. We'll change it. What? The will. We'll update it. Split things evenly. I blinked. Why now? Because we didn't realize how much it hurt you. Liar. They realized. They just didn't care until the money stopped. Don't bother, I said. Keep it how it is. Daniel. No, I cut her off. Claire can have it, all of it. The house, the savings, the mess. I'm done. Mom looked heartbroken. Dad's face was unreadable. You'll regret this, he said. I smiled. No. For the first time in my life, I actually feel free. They left without another word, and I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. Claire showed up 2 days later. Not at my door, but at my job. I was just stepping out for lunch when I saw her leaning against the wall outside the office building. Black sunglasses, coffee in hand. Like she had nothing better to do. What are you doing here? I asked. She gave me a casual shrug, wanted to talk. At my job? You weren't answering your phone. I wonder why. She rolled her eyes. Look, I get it. You're mad. Mad doesn't even begin to cover it. She sipped her coffee. You're being childish, and you're being entitled. That got her. She straightened. I didn't ask them to do this. But you didn't stop them either. I didn't know until it was already signed. Then why didn't you say anything? I didn't think you'd care. That stunned me. You didn't think I'd care about being erased from my own family's legacy? She shifted, suddenly looking less smug. I figured you had everything figured out already. You're always the one in control. So this was about you feeling inferior? No, I don't know, maybe. I turned away. Wait, she said. You think I'm happy about this? That I want to be stuck dealing with everything when they're gone? Oh, come on, I said. You're not stuck with anything. You'll sell the house and pocket the cash. She didn't deny it. I laughed bitterly. That's the difference between us. You see this as a win. I saw it as the final straw. She frowned. So what? You're cutting us off forever? I didn't answer. She stepped closer. Dan, I didn't mean for it to get this bad. But it had. And, sorry, didn't pay back a decade of being used. I didn't say anything. Didn't nod. Didn't shake my head. Just turned and walked back inside. Left her standing there, holding her coffee, unsure what to do next. The days that followed were quiet. For the first time in years, my life wasn't tethered to theirs. No calls asking for help with groceries. No texts asking if I could stop by. No guilt-tripping emails about how much they missed me. Silence. And I loved it. Until the silence broke, in a way I didn't expect. A letter. An actual letter, not a bill or flyer or ad. No return address. Just my name, handwritten. Inside, a single page. Daniel? We didn't know how to fix this, so we're trying. the only way we know how. You were always the strong one, the one who never gave up on us, even when we didn't deserve it. We made mistakes. We let fear and pride get in the way of love. But you need to understand, we never stopped loving you. Claire, she struggles. She always has. And maybe we thought giving her more would somehow make things easier for her. Maybe we were wrong. We know we hurt you. We're sorry. If you never want to speak to us again, we'll understand. But we hope someday you'll find a way back. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it 3 times, each word slower than the last. I didn't cry, didn't throw it away. Just folded it neatly and set it in a drawer. Because, despite everything, a small part of me still cared. I hated that. A week later, Claire texted again. Mom's not doing well. She's been in bed for days. I didn't respond. Another message followed. Dad's worried. She won't eat. Then a call. I let it go to voicemail. Listen to it later. Dan, it's me. I know you don't want to talk. But your mom, she's not herself. I think she really thought she lost you for good. If you could just stop by, even for 5 minutes, just let her see your face. I sat on my couch that night, staring at the wall. 5 minutes. That's all they wanted. But 5 minutes felt like reopening a wound that had barely started to scab. I didn't sleep much. The next morning, I called in sick. Got in the car. Drove across town. Parked in front of the house I hadn't seen in weeks. It looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Tired. I rang the doorbell. Dad answered. He looked like he hadn't shaved in days. Eyes sunken. He didn't say anything, just stepped aside. I walked in. The house smelled the same. Lavender and dust. Mom was in the living room, curled up under a blanket. She looked up when she saw me. Her face changed. Not joy, not relief. Just something softer. Hi, I said quietly. She didn't speak, just nodded. I sat down across from her. No one moved for a while. Then she whispered, I thought you were gone. I was, I replied, but you came back. For now, she smiled, weakly. I missed you. I know. Dad hovered near the hallway, not sure if he should speak or vanish. Claire wasn't there. Thank God. Mom reached for my hand. I let her take it. Her skin was cold. Are you okay? I asked. She shook her head. Not really. We sat in silence again. She finally said, We changed the will. I looked at her. I told you not to. I know. But we had to. We couldn't let it stay like that. I sighed. I don't care about the money. I know, she said. That's why it hurt so much. I didn't stay long. Maybe 20 minutes. Long enough to feel like a son again. Not long enough for the anger to fade completely. When I stood to leave, she squeezed my hand. I hope you'll come back. Maybe, I said. Outside, Dad followed me to the porch. He looked up at the sky. Said nothing. As I reached my car, he finally spoke. You were right, he said. I paused. About everything, he added. I know, I said. He nodded, then turned back to the house. I drove away, not knowing if I'd ever return. 3 months passed. I didn't visit again. I didn't call. But they didn't pressure me. Not this time. Sometimes I'd get a text from Claire. A simple update. Mom's stronger. Dad's back at work. We cleaned out the attic. I never replied. But I read every word. Life moved on. Work got busier. I started going to the gym again. Cooking real meals. Sleeping better. I thought maybe that chapter of my life was closed. Until one Thursday afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring, then checked the voicemail. "Hi, this is Dr. Ling from Cedarview Medical. I'm trying to reach Daniel Whitmore regarding his mother, Deborah Whitmore. If you could please call us back at your earliest convenience." My blood ran cold. I called immediately. It wasn't a crisis, not yet. She'd collapsed while gardening. Mild dehydration, they said. But they'd also found something else. A shadow on the scan. Words like biopsy and possible growth were tossed around. They wanted to run more tests. She needed someone to sign. Claire wasn't available. And somehow they called me. I went. Didn't think twice. Signed the papers. Sat beside her in the hospital bed, waiting for answers neither of us wanted. She smiled when she saw me. Tired, but real. "You came again," she whispered. "I did." She squeezed my fingers. "I'm scared." "I know." The tests took hours. I didn't leave. At one point, Dad showed up. He looked like hell. We didn't speak much. Just nodded to each other. That was enough. The doctor came back with a clipboard and a careful face. Stage 2. Not terminal, not yet. But serious. Aggressive. Treatment would start immediately. I drove her home the next day. She slept most of the ride. Dad sat in the back seat, eyes fixed on the road. Claire stood waiting on the porch, arms crossed, tears already falling. Arded. We all went inside. It felt like stepping back into a family I barely remembered. Familiar furniture. Photos of birthdays and vacations. But the air was different now. Quieter. Softer. That evening, we had dinner together. Me, Claire, Mom, Dad. No shouting. No accusations. Just soup and bread and the occasional joke. At one point, Claire said something that caught me off guard. "I don't want the house." I looked up. She met my eyes. "When they're gone," she said, "I don't want it." Silence. "I know how it looks," she continued. "What they did. What I didn't do. But I don't want any of it." "You'll change your mind," Dad said softly. "No," she shook her head. "I mean it." I believed her. For the first time in a long while, I believed her. We didn't talk about the will again. We didn't need to. What mattered now was chemo schedules, grocery lists, and long afternoons sitting quietly while Mom slept on the couch. Some days she had strength. Other days she couldn't lift her arms. She lost her hair. Then her appetite. But never her humor. Even on the worst days, she'd smile at me and say, "Still here." And I'd smile back. Yeah, still here. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something close. One morning, I was helping her dress when she looked at me and said, "You'd have made a great father." I froze. She reached up and touched my cheek. "Still time," she whispered. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. Later that night, I went home and looked through a box of old photos. Birthdays. Christmas mornings. My high school graduation. I found a photo of me and Claire as kids. We were laughing. Covered in mud. No idea what was coming. I sent her a picture of it. No caption. Just the image. 2 minutes later, she replied with a heart. Autumn came quickly that year. Leaves fell like quiet reminders that everything ends. Mom's treatment continued. Some days were better than others. But I could see the toll it was taking. Her laugh got thinner. Her hands shook more. I started visiting every few days. Never planned it, just found myself driving there. Bringing soup, books, blankets she didn't ask for. Sometimes we didn't even talk. I'd just sit while she slept. Dad would nod to me from the hallway. Claire kept her distance. She was around, but quieter than usual. One evening, I showed up with a photo album I'd found in my closet. Old vacations. A trip to Maine when I was 12. Mom smiled at the cover. You kept this? Didn't know I had. We flipped through it together. She stopped at a photo of me on the beach holding a crab in one hand, grinning like an idiot. You were always so fearless, she said. I was terrified of that crab, I replied. She laughed. Real laughter. The kind that made her eyes shine. When she got tired, I helped her lie down. Before I left, she grabbed my wrist. Don't disappear again. I nodded. I won't. I meant it. The next week, Claire and I sat together in the kitchen. It was awkward at first. We talked about groceries, work, the weather. Then she said they were wrong to do what they did. I looked up. She didn't blink. I never asked them to change the will. I didn't know until after. I know, I said. She blinked. You do? I figured it out eventually. She nodded. Then added, I've been a terrible sister. I didn't argue. Didn't need to. I was always jealous of you, she continued. Why? Because you knew who you were. I was just trying to keep up, and when I couldn't, I made everything worse. Silence. Then she asked, Do you hate me? I took a breath. No, not anymore. She wiped her eyes. I want to do better. Then do better, I said. And she did. She showed up more. Helped with Mom's medicine. Stopped talking about inheritance and started talking about the present. We weren't best friends, but we were something closer to family. One Saturday, the four of us sat in the living room watching an old movie. The one with the time-traveling car. Mom fell asleep halfway through, her head on Dad's shoulder. Claire was curled up in the chair, laughing at the jokes before they landed. I looked around and thought, this isn't perfect. But maybe it doesn't need to be. Maybe this is enough. The first snow came early. Just a dusting, but enough to turn the world white for a moment. Mom loved snow. She sat by the window that morning, wrapped in 2 blankets, hands cupped around a mug of tea. Looks like powdered sugar, she whispered. I nodded. It'll melt by afternoon. Then let's enjoy it while it's here. We watched in silence. The world slowed down. Even her breathing did. Later that day, Claire brought gingerbread cookies. She burned the edges. As always. Mom ate 2 anyway. Said they were perfect. Dad was out getting prescriptions. The house felt peaceful. For once, the quiet didn't feel heavy. That evening, Claire and I played cards with Mom. She beat us both, twice. Even sick, she was ruthless at gin rummy. Around 10, I helped her upstairs. She paused at the foot of the stairs. You know, she said, I'm not afraid. Of what? Of going. When it's time. I swallowed. You don't have to talk about that. I do, she said firmly, because you won't. She placed her hand on the banister. I want to know that you and Claire will be okay. We will. She looked at me. Promise? I promise. She smiled, then climbed the stairs slowly. I watched until she disappeared around the corner. The next few weeks blurred together. Hospice nurses came by. Dad finally took time off work. Claire started sleeping over more often. We fell into a rhythm. Soup, medicine, laughter. Sometimes tears. Always presence. Then one night, I got a call at 3 a.m. It was Dad. She's asking for you. I didn't even change clothes. Just drove. No traffic. No music. Just the sound of my heart pounding. When I got there, the house was dark except for the hallway lamp. Claire was on the stairs, eyes red. She's awake, but fading. I walked into her room. She looked so small, so still, but her eyes lit up when she saw me. Daniel, I'm here. I sat beside her. She reached for my hand. Cold, but steady. "There's something in the top drawer," she whispered. "Okay. A letter. For you." I nodded. "I'll read it later." She nodded too, then smiled. "You were always my heart." I couldn't speak. Didn't need to. She closed her eyes and quietly let go. The funeral was small. Snow still clung to the ground, turning everything pale and silent. Family came, old friends, neighbors with casseroles. Claire handled most of the arrangements. I read the eulogy. It was simple, honest. No grand speeches, no sugarcoating. Just memories. How she sang off-key in the car. How she always burned the toast. How she called both me and Claire by the dog's name when she was tired. People laughed. Some cried. Most did both. Afterward, we gathered at the house. The air was thick with food smells and small talk, but I kept drifting toward the quiet rooms. Eventually, I ended up in her bedroom, sat on the edge of her bed. Then I remembered. The letter. "Top drawer," she'd said. I opened it. There it was, cream-colored envelope, my name in her handwriting. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "Daniel, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I hate that. I hate that I won't get to see you grow older, or meet someone wonderful, or find peace in all the places that once hurt. I know I failed you. I know that what your father and I did, what we allowed, carved a canyon into your heart. And I'm sorry. Truly. Not just for the will. For everything. For the silence. For the way we treated your pain as if it were your fault. You didn't deserve that. You deserved better parents. But you never stopped being my son. Not even for a second. Even when you hated me, I understood. And still loved you. You were always so strong. Stronger than me, stronger than your father, stronger than the both of us combined. Please, Daniel, don't let this grief harden you. Don't let anger be your anchor. You are more than what we did to you. You always were. Forgive me if you can. And if you can't, I will understand. But live. Fully. Loudly. With the heart I know you still have. Forever yours. Mom. I folded the letter and held it to my chest. Then I cried. For her. For me. For everything that could have been different. When I finally left the room, Claire was waiting in the hallway. She didn't say anything. Just hugged me. Tightly. And I let her. Spring arrived slowly. The snow receded, revealing brown grass and forgotten leaves. Birdsong returned, tentative at first, then confident. Life didn't rush back. It crept. Quiet, careful, like it was asking permission. I stayed in town longer than I planned. Helped Dad go through Mom's things. He moved slowly. Touched everything twice before putting it in a box. We didn't talk much, but it wasn't uncomfortable. He'd look at a book, sigh, and I'd wait. Sometimes he'd share a memory. Sometimes not. One day he pulled out an old scarf. I gave her this in college, he said. She wore it every winter, even when it didn't match anything. He held it to his face. Didn't cry, but didn't speak again for a long time. Claire handled the estate paperwork. She had this new calm to her, like something had shifted. She asked if I wanted to go through Mom's jewelry. I don't want anything, I said. I think she'd want you to take something. I already did, I said. The letter. Claire nodded. Didn't press. We started walking together some evenings. Not every night, but enough. One night, we ended up back at the school playground, just like when we were kids. We sat on the swings. Didn't swing, just sat. "I wish we'd had this earlier," Claire said. This? Peace. Forgiveness. It might not have worked earlier. Why not? We weren't ready, to be honest. She nodded, kicked at the gravel, then said, "Do you think she knew we'd be okay?" I think she hoped. We watched the sky go dark. Streetlights flickered on. Some kids rode by on bikes, laughing too loud. It was nice. Strange. Normal. That weekend, I packed up to leave. Claire hugged me without warning. "Come back soon." "I will." Dad helped me load the car. He looked older now, but lighter somehow. Like grief had emptied something and made space for something else. Before I left, he handed me a small box. "What's this?" Her favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle. I smiled. She hated that chip. She never threw it away. I took it, held it carefully on the passenger seat like it might break. Then I drove. Past the places I once couldn't wait to leave. Past the memories that no longer chased me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running. Life went on. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just forward. I moved back to the city. Same apartment. New job. Different me. The mornings didn't sting anymore. The past didn't weigh the same. Grief was still there, but quieter now. Like an old song you've stopped humming, but still know by heart. Sometimes I'd reread the letter. Not often. Just when I needed her voice again. Claire called more. Sometimes we laughed. Sometimes we didn't. But we spoke like siblings, not strangers. One Sunday she sent a photo of Dad planting tomatoes. "I think it's therapy," she joked. I smiled. "Looks like he's building a fortress." She replied with a heart emoji. Something so small, so normal, but it meant the world. A few months later, I met someone. Her name was Elise. She was kind. Not in the polite way, in the real way. She didn't ask too many questions at first. Just listened. Let me unfold slowly. She loved coffee. Hated cold weather. And had a laugh that made the whole room tilt toward her. On our fourth date, I told her about my mom. About the will. About the distance. The return. The end. She didn't flinch. Didn't try to fix it. She just said, "Sounds like you walked through hell and made it out softer." I looked at her. "I don't feel soft." "You are," she smiled. "You just don't know it yet." A year passed. The anniversary came. I visited the grave alone. Left the scarf Dad had saved. I sat in silence for a while. No grand words. Just thanks. Thanks for the letter. For the laugh. For the pain that led to growth. When I stood to leave, I whispered, "We're okay now." And I meant it. Back home, Elise was waiting. She held out 2 mugs. Hers with tea, mine with coffee. We sat by the window, legs tangled, watching the wind. I told her I was thinking of writing again. What kind of story? A true one. About you? Maybe. About a boy who ran from home and finally came back. She smiled. I'd read that. I took a sip. Held the warm mug in both hands. Outside, spring was starting again. Everything was blooming. And this time, I was ready to grow with it.